Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Broads. The Flyers select 2 players on draft night. We didn't know what would happen. Would they try and move up for Michkov? If they did, does that mean they have to trade Travis Sanheim, bring back a contract that the other team they're working with wants to get rid of, and that's how you acquire one of their first-round picks? Just saying maybe St. Louis, Torrey Krug, we don't want you here anymore. Please waive your no-trade clause. Nope, not going to happen. Okay, we'll take a 6th for Kevin Hayes then. Oh, we still have a lot more to talk about than just acquiring Michkov, which Michkov is insane. You didn't have to move at all? They thought they would have to. Or maybe the Washington Capitals would sneak on by, move up with Montreal, or move up at 6 after Montreal doesn't take them, and think you got another Russian to change the life of your city. That's what Washington possibly would have done, but instead, Michkov is right into your lap, and you take him home. And here we go. We have a potential game changer. For everyone saying the Flyers need someone that could be the face that makes you want to go to the Wells Fargo Center. All the experts claim that in any other draft year that didn't have Connor Bedard, who's Connor McDavid 2.0, nobody and their mother could pass on a talent this wow. So when Connor Bedard isn't in your draft class, Michkov could be the #1 overall pick. Bedard's in his own different universe. He's in a different galaxy. But when it comes back to reality, it's sad, Michkov is at the top of the reality. And you were able to take a big shot on it and take a huge swing because you have the luxury of time. If your organization is in a different spot and this kid is signed in the KHL for a couple of years, and we also have to deal with reality of the world, there's a lot happening in Russia right now. We're also dealing with this with Fedotov. We see it firsthand. We can't be naive. There is a risk, but the upside in talent is so large that Danny Briere puts his testicles on the table and says, I'm not afraid. We know what he can be. We feel very highly about his ceiling. I'm not letting that walk out the door. There's a lot of non-hockey fans that sometimes during the draft, fans in this city say, can I have the NBA equivalent? Or can I have a comparison in the NFL world? And I saw a ton of different reactions, and someone said, imagine if Jalen Carter fell to you, just like we saw with Howie Roseman. And sometimes it's right there. You can't pass on. I'm sorry, but there's just nothing you can do. If you liked Ryan Leonard, which I did, and I thought maybe you can select him because Michkov would have went before it was your time, there's awesome names there. But it's not Michkov, okay? And I would sit here and say, well, he's good in this area, he's good in this area, like we normally do with some of these prospects. No, he's good everywhere. He can do everything. He's exactly what we've been screaming about. I'll give you the elite prospects draft guide, though. All right? The rare triple threat winger, Michkov, is a constant threat to find the back of the net. His puck skills are near the top of the draft owing to immense creativity, hip pocket handling, dexterous hands, and never say die attitude. You may think that you have him, but most of the time, you really don't. His ability to problem solve his way out of defensive pressure is at a level all its own. And Michkov creates plays on the ice that we can't even fathom with the benefit of a bird's eye view. Here's some more quotes about him. Michkov brings offensive tools you could want, every offensive tool you could want to the table, a wicked wrister, elusiveness, and vision. Becomes quicker around the net. He can make quick turns down low, then drive the net and display his quick hands in traffic. I can go through how many rankings he's got. He's the ranked 4th best player by Consolidated Rankings. 4th best player in Elite Prospects, 3rd by FC Hockey, 3rd by some other prospect website that I've never heard of before in recruiting scouting. He's ranked number 2 in NHL Central Scouting by European players. So just giving you some of the numbers. And you got him at 7, remember. So when I'm giving you 4, giving you 2, giving you 3, it just tells you that There's value there. Everyone talks about value at this time of the year. It's about value, maximizing your assets. You don't take a running back in the first round of the draft. Those type of details matter if you're successful or not. You have to land this. This is massive. It's the first big how do you do as your general manager career, Danny Briere. But I like this. Don't be afraid. Don't shy away. There's always going to be a risk involved. Maybe less if you go to the National Development Program and pick a Ryan Leonard. And I was absolutely having visions of him wearing the orange and black because I just didn't see them finding time to trade Sanheim because that was what they were trying to do. I was told the list of order for Danny Briere was Michkov at number 1. I want to get it exactly so I don't butcher it. But I was told that Michkov, Leonard, and Benson was their order of preference. Then the defenseman Reinbacher, but he doesn't present enough upside despite being a right-handed shot, and that's kind of what they were looking at. So when I saw it breaking that way, I'm like, oh yeah, they're doing it. They're doing it. And knowing that's what they wanted to do, I wonder if I felt differently if he was still there and they elected to go to Ryan Leonard. Well, if Danny's informing some that he really likes Michkov, and Elliot Freeman put on his podcast that the Flyers had the best smoke screens all week long, and they were really working the phones and trying to get everybody involved. I don't know. I mean, he said smoke screens, yet everything that I was reading and everything I was following up on matched what they were doing and what they believe in and their message and their thoughts. So was it a smoke screen or was it just real information? And they were interested in Ryan Leonard. And they were interested in Michkov. And there were 3 or 4 guys that they thought were possible at 4. So their interest is high on a lot of those guys because you're not in position of power. You have to see what the other teams do in front of you. So when names start to surface, I think it's their actual draft board because they all made sense to the range that they were drafting. I don't know. That's a small detail that doesn't matter whatsoever. The only thing that actually matters is what you received in your prospect pool. They wanted a defenseman in this draft. Keith Jones made it very clear that we are building from the blue line out, and I have no problem whatsoever with thinking that way. Ultimately, that leads to success. You know Pietrangelo? Ever hear of him? Big time in St. Louis, Stanley Cup. Big time in Vegas, Stanley Cup. You want to talk about those Chicago teams? While they were packaged together up front with Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, did they not have your pure decor and top guys? That decor mattered too. Chris Letang for the Pittsburgh Penguins. You think he made difference-making plays? You think he has a huge impact on their Stanley Cups? Just spitballing. Of course, Malkin and Sidney Crosby go hand in hand with that roster. But ultimately, you really do need someone extremely valuable at the top of that D pairing, on the top of that first D pair. Did they find that at 22? I don't know. I don't know if that's Cam York's ceiling, and I'd be lying to you if I told you that's Oliver Bonk's ceiling. He does have some impressive numbers in the OHL, playing for the London Knights, 67 games played, 40 points. My only concern is, why do I have PTSD from Cole Caulfield and Cam York? Not that Cam York's a bad player. Not that I'm excited to watch him grow. But Cole Caulfield's goal-scoring ability didn't register in human life. It was alien form. Shohei Ohtani hits a couple home runs in a game, also can find 10 strikeouts. Not find 10 strikeouts, earn 10 strikeouts. Cole Caulfield's goal-scoring ability was to that level. Yes, you heard me right. What he was doing was alien. But let's go Cam York. Perreault, for the National Development Program, having 77 goals in 93 games, playing with very impressive players too, but being a piece to that pie, They were looking for something specific. And I wonder, did they leave anything because they were so hyper-focused on the area? Because I know hockey's sort of a niche sport, although I would expect a lot of die-hard Flyers fans to be the ones listening to this because, well, there is something to be said about the strong fan base that is all on board. I like to use other sports sometimes for you to visualize it differently, but also understand in the hockey world. Let's say there's an unreal defensive tackle still not picked. You have to look at cornerback. The best cornerback available is good, but the best defensive tackle available can be the face of your franchise. You need an outside corner, though. So let's go with the position that has a hole on our roster. We left a lot of juice there, though. There's a lot of meat left on the bone, but we needed that outside corner. Your defensive tackle shines elsewhere in a different uniform, and you feel it. Could Perreault be that? I think it's very possible. And it wasn't too long ago where I saw it happen, and at the time of the draft, I was bothered. It's funny because whenever Cole Caulfield scores 3 goals in a game, whenever Cole Caulfield puts together 6 goals in 7 games or 8 games, people start commenting on my initial reaction pod on the YouTube channel of the Cole Caulfield draft. So every once in a blue moon, not once in a blue moon, he scores a lot of goals, so that's unfair. But when it does happen, you see people, oh, go Caulfield, oh, you missed out here. I know. I'm not ruling out Oliver Bonk. Do you want some Oliver Bonk scouting reports? Don't mind if I do. Here's elite prospects. A prototypical shutdown defenseman. Bonk safeguards his team by backtracking ahead of offensive turnovers, block access to the defensive zone, forces opponents to dump the puck around him, and then seals the puck from them on the back wall. He pushes attackers wide in the defensive zone and scans the ice behind him to stop backdoor plays. So basically just a steady Eddie. The guy who does things that are not sexy. The guy that makes the plays that don't necessarily show up on the box score. For example, let's say you hold a great gap and then you force the team to dump the puck at the red line. You go back, you scoop the puck up behind the net, you make a good outlet pass, the puck moves 3 times and then finds the back door. You don't get a point for it, but it really all generated from your gap control when the opposing team was breaking out initially, and then you put some time and space, you close your gap. Now the puck's behind your goal line, and you generated that whole entire sequence. No fan, when they're celebrating at the Wells Fargo Center, throwing their hands up and maybe having a rally towel, goes, you know what was fucking awesome about that goal? Not the tic-tac-toe, not the zone entry, net drive, high guy, and then a nice, one-timer with your knee down. Michkov finds the twine and celebrates by jumping in the glass. You know what was cool? That gap control. Did you see his foot speed skating backwards? Did you see his first cut? Did you see his transition game? Come on, those first 3 backward strides. No one emphasizes that. You go, where's Simone Gagne? I need 40 goals, right? You go, yo, fellas, where's Danny B on the power play? That's what Oliver Bonk can show for you. So I don't hate it. I'm just worried. And maybe I shouldn't be, because Danny Briere has been impressive. Let's get to the Kevin Hayes thing. So Kevin Hayes, 6th-round draft pick in next year's draft, and the 50% salary retained. This is what he had to do. Chuck Fletcher forced this to occur. Flyers fans were screaming from the mountaintops, we need to strip this thing down all the way to the nails and restart. Well, that's a part of this. When Johansson gets traded for something brutal, that dictates the market, and this is where you are. The only reason why we had higher expectations is because in the potential trade that involved Sanheim and Torrey Krug, you were willing to take that money off the books for St. Louis, and they had 3 first-round draft picks, so they had some luxury to work around it. They valued Krug leaving and acquiring Sanheim's upside, and, of course, where Kevin Hayes is. They valued that enough, all of that together, for a first-round pick, and then still have 2 cracks at it. When that falls through, the Kevin Hayes thing still needs to be done. They were looking to get a few out, a few certain out. Think of the first 3 that are rumored to get moved on from. Not that Kevin Hayes is a bad person. I really don't think he is. Wrong timing. The vision with AV fell apart. The rest just happened. I didn't like everything John Tortorella did. I also didn't like the way Kevin Hayes responded. Some of the guys did have great seasons. Travis Konechny scored 30 goals. John Tortorella pushed his buttons. Owen Tippett. Guys were getting scratched. Guys were getting benched. Not everyone fell flat on their face. But with Kevin Hayes, Tony DeAngelo, who's being rumored to be, it was being reported and rumored that he was getting traded to Carolina, but we just have to wait for the details to finish off the 1 year since he was acquired from Carolina and all that stuff. And Ivan Provorov. There's something to be said about having a certain standard in their eyes. And they felt those 3, there was something holding the locker room back. And maybe they had something to do with it. Now you get some young bucks in there. You allow another roster spot. And you can let the kids play. And you'll play like Noah Cates every night. Every kid who gets a chance to play under Torts this year will give it hell. Give it everything they got. Or else they won't see any ice time. So we'll be mucking and working hard and learning the defensive zone and playing the right way. However they sell the right way, playing the right way. Compared to a Provorov who doesn't want to be there, a Kevin Hayes who did not like the coach, and Tony D, who was getting healthy scratched by the end. And he was brought in here to help out the power play. And once again, their vision at the time of acquiring his rights is not strip it down mode. So that value that he brings, even though the team did struggle heavily on the power play, it's just not relevant anymore. The 6th-round draft pick, that's the market. Our first caller, if you listen to the Best Show Ever clip that I did post to the Broads Media YouTube channel, our first caller, one of our first callers, just the salary cap retention alone should be worth more than a 6th. It does seem underwhelming from the surface. But if no team is willing to offer anything more, and you tried to get creative, but a no-tradement clause was unfortunately not waived, there's nothing you can do, and you can't bring him back. It would be a nightmare to have him in the locker room, already bashing heads with the coach. Whispers start to happen. You're setting yourself off on the wrong foot automatically. This is time to rebrand this thing. This is time to have guys like Scott Lawton be the voice. Kevin Hayes is a prototypical, you would think, leader if he was to still be wearing a Flyers jersey. Instead, he didn't want to accept that. The guy hated here. His agent's taking shots at Tortorella publicly. And I don't even think Tortorella handled it right. I really don't. At times, Kevin Hayes deserved more respect than he was getting. I also thought Kevin Hayes handled it poorly himself. I criticized Tortsy. At the end of the day, though, you're pros. And he didn't take that contract to be in a rebuilding state. And if that's the case and doesn't want to be here and will hold this thing back, then you have to look at everything possible. Everything possible. Including taking a 6th-round pick. This is something where the loss is a gain. You're gaining something, addition by subtraction. I don't know why it took me so long to think of one of the most basic phrases in English history, but that's just what happened. All right. Those are my initial thoughts. What were your initial thoughts? That's a great question. That's why we're going to the Anytime Hotline.
Broads, it's Ryan from Tampa. Like your tweet said, Michkov, wow, 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 wow. We got him. We got him. And this is perfect because I read something he may not be ready to come over till 2025, 2026. Perfect. Let's start the youth movement. Let's get the young players in and end with the new era. And, hey, congrats on the baby, by the way. I also saw that news. And, man, what a great night this is, bros. What a great night. Can't wait for the next couple years of Flyers hockey.
It is refreshing to have a night that matters so much for the orange and black, no? Like, I was stoked. I was pumped for the draft all day long. It's been a while where I had it going to this level. You could say that Cutter Gauthier draft was something to look forward to. And sure, but Chuck Fletcher was still here, and I despise that man. You actually have the face of your new regime, so it adds a whole nother layer to it. Thank you so much for the kind words about the baby. I seriously cannot wait until December. It can't come here soon enough. It's going to be electric. Michkov, he can't come because of where the contract is. He's got a couple of years. I asked Flyers Twitter at 6:18. I tweeted this. How we feeling out there? What do you want to see the Flyers do tonight? And these were the responses. I was picturing going back and seeing what some fans wanted and then seeing what we got and then if it was the same. Bill says Michkov. Seth just has a picture of Michkov and says, I'll say it again. I guess he's been responding on a lot of the tweets over the past week. Find a way to either get Michkov or Leonard, and he wants Danny to use this draft as a jump start to the rebuild. Well, of course it is. Trade TK, Sanheim, Lawton. Okay, you said hard. Okay, you're looking like more into it. Originally, the top of it says Michkov or Leonard. That was my top two. Those were the top two that I was looking for. Draft Michkov. Declan says trade Sanheim. Draft Michkov. I would love Michkov. Literally every single answer was Michkov. Except for one that put Michkov first. And then if we have to, let's go after Leonard. And Leonard went to the Washington Capitals right after. I just think that there's a lot to take away from Washington being so hungry for Michkov the whole time. If they want someone like that and they want someone with that background and that culture and being from Russia, I just think that there's something to it. I don't know. Is that blind faith? Is that me just being stupid? I see Alexander Ovechkin be just fine. I see some Euros doing all right. And it just kept happening and happening, pick by pick, this anxious feeling. And I just knew. When the first bombshell happened at 2, the light bulb went off. This isn't going to be traditional. Yo, dip. That's what I'm calling myself, like a dipshit. Yo, dip. Be ready for anything. Be on your toes. Be on the toes of your skates there, bud. And I got right up. Got up in the forecheck. F1 got in the corners. Won a puck battle. Used my body to create space. Little sauce back door. Little cheese. Went top, shove a little cheddar. The hell was that?
Are they mad at Danny now, Hunter? Are they going to call him a subpar GM? We're worried about his ability to do the job and turn this thing around. Pretty damn good start tonight. Great get to get Michkov. And the best part is you didn't have to trade anything. I mean, when I heard that the team before them picked a Russian player, Arizona, I got a little concerned. But, wow. I mean, I'm still in shock. Nothing good ever happens for the Philadelphia Flyers, so this knocks you on the floor. in terms of surprise. You know, you still got pick 22 yet. I'm making this call before that pick has been selected, no matter how that turns out. But this is a winning night, no matter how the rest of the draft turns out. Great move by the Flyers. Let's go orange and black.
I don't disagree that it's a good night. There's not much that can make you feel horrible after you get that player at 7 and without having to draft, move up in the draft or trade somebody else. I would like for them still to get rid of Travis Sanheim's contract. There's still things that need to be done. I would have found a way to move Scott Lawton for a first-round draft pick, so then you could have 3. Getting a first-round pick for him, I know they're playing the hardball game and they're playing that leverage game with someone who means so much and maybe trying to use the deadline for more leverage, which would be another savvy move to add to Danny Briere because teams want to make that push. They think that that could be the addition that gets them past a team that's in their way. That could be the difference in winning a playoff series. When you're in that moment, it's easier and you're more willing to maybe give up extra so the Flyers can maybe get more because they hold off a couple months and they don't just do it because they get excited about a first-round pick in the draft. They got to play a long game here, and they know that there's going to be more drafts in the future. Don't get too excited. Put it away. Put it away. That kind of thing. It's hard to be mad. Even with me thinking that there was something better at 22. I still like, in theory, the defenseman. Can move the puck, good gap control. That's so important. A D-man that has good phases in all 3 zones. Did you hear the words about what he does just from the back door standpoint? I'll read it exactly for you again. I just want you to hear this last one. It made my eyes perk up because I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. You can do that. I'm sorry, I've just been watching Provorov and Rasmus Ristolainen and some other hot trash for so long that I forgot that this was something that could be done. He pushes attackers wide in the D zone, so he keeps forwards outside the dots, which is your number 1 job, and scans the ice behind him to stop backdoor passes. Think about that. Carter Hart was left out to dry nonstop. Wide open in the slot. Wide open backdoor. I remember that there were sequences where someone was wide open in the high slot and wide open backdoor. So that means there's miscommunication. If you have one guy one defenseman in the corner, and the center falls asleep, and the far side D-man falls asleep, no one's net front, where are you? Backdoor pass. What does Carter Hart do there? He pushes out into his crease, then what? All you have to do if you go out too far to try and take away the angles is just move it a half inch to your left, maybe a couple feet, not a half inch. It's a tap-in. If I don't come out far enough, I'm too deep into my net. Pick your angle. I mean, it was so much. You're right, though. Michkov can do that to other goalies. I'm stoked for what he can provide. I don't even know what to tell you. He's so good all around. He sees the ice well. He gets his teammates involved. He's got a nice shot. He's a full package guy. I did see that maybe the defensive zone is not as bought in. A Russian player. I think you kind of understand what that is. There's enough of a sample size on how Russians prototypically like to play. And it's, will John Tortorella mesh well with it? I don't even know if John Tortorella is going to be here by the time Michkov really starts to run forward with a monster career. And even John Tortorella said that when he first got hired. I don't even know if I'll be here by the time this thing turns around. But I do know that I'll do this the right way and we'll attack the way that I want to and we want to, and as if I will be here for it. But it takes a long time, and I know how this business goes. Now, guess what? If you think I'm worried because of the defensive zone commitment, you learn that. Travis Konechny wasn't always bought into the D zone. I'll worry about that when it happens. Trust me, when he's doing what he's doing offensively in the neutral zone and when he does do some things in the D zone, We'll talk then. Not today. There's too much upside to focus on that. I'll focus on everything else. The fact that we need lethal weapon talent. He has it. Will he be here, though, and come to this country after the 3 years and where everything's at? Just based off of what Rush is doing. I don't have the answer for you. I don't really have a rebuttal. That's real life. We use sports as an escape a lot of times for a lot of different things. There's no escape in this. We'll do another call here.
That's how you do it, baby. That's how you do it, Danny. Let's go. Let's go. I'm pumped for Michkov. He's the second best generational talent in this draft. I mean, I would have liked Leonard. I would have liked some of the other guys. But with Michkov, with him developing in the KHL, the Flyers will have the cap to buy out the KHL contract. Michkov will be here long term. I also like the Bonk pick. He has a lot of upside. He's young, and we can build our defense around him. Good draft for the Flyers. Can't wait for next year's. Let's tank and get next year's #1 draft.
I'll tank. I'll gladly tank. So that caller gave him 2 thumbs up for both picks. Okay. I can't argue it. It was a good day for Danny B. Will they follow it up in day 2? I think so. I like what they did. What say you? Thank you all so much for hanging out. We'll be talking on the next one.